Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra, and this is Steven, and we'll be doing the Disaster Ready workshop today. So again, Sandra, Steven. Okay, so we're gonna do a brief overview of today's workshop. I'll go ahead and introduce 2.2 LISTOS program team here in California, and then we'll go ahead do the 5 easy steps on how to be prepared in case of any emergency, any disaster, wherever you are, either if you're located at your home, work, or school. And then lastly, I believe Jason will go over the activity instructions more in depth with you. Just before we begin though, everybody received a blue booklet guide. If everybody can take this out, this guide, or actually our presentation is based on this guide. And so we'll go ahead and you'll be following with us as we go through this presentation. And hint, most answers to our questions are here. So please use this guide as your resource. Okay, so who we are 2.2 LISTOS program team. And LISTOS in Spanish means ready. Ready for what? Ready for any emergency, ready for a disaster, or any other tough situations. And so here in 2.2, we are one of the grantees awards from California. And if y'all can see in the front page, this program was created and is currently funded by the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. So as one of the grantee recipients, we go throughout California, the whole team, to educate the communities in need in case of any emergency. And so that's why we fall underneath the Education Development Program, and Chin Chuan is our director, followed by our program manager, Erica, and then we have our program assistant manager, Curtis, our program assistant, Adriana, our SEO strategist, Andrew, and we have several community liaisons located throughout California doing this types of work in different types of languages as well. So what do? We go to community events, to table, we share resources, infographics, pamphlets. We do individual community outreach where we go and speak to family members, try to educate them in case of any emergency, to be ready. Like this, like right now, we also go out and host workshops in different languages, and we also do CPR training, which is usually led by Curtis.
Okay. So in the Disaster Ready Guide, they have 5 recommended steps. So step 1 is sign up through the LISTOS website to get the Cal alerts and notifications in case like a disaster does happen. So like one of them being like an earthquake, wildfires, floods, and like other disasters that'll probably happen in like different areas. Number 2 is to prepare a plan. So a plan basically to kind of protect yourself, your family members, your friends, and where to kind of meet up during a disaster. Number 3, prepare a go bag. A go bag that kind of lists like important documents, such as being like insurance, your medical, your identification, and other ideas you need in case you need to evacuate. Number 4 being stay box, basically if you can't evacuate. And then number 5 is basically just informing your friends, your family members, your neighbors, to have them kind of be prepared. So number 1, as I just mentioned, is just basically signing up through the Cal LISTOS website to kind of get the alerts. Some of these are so some of the alerts will basically be just like you kind of registering through your county or through your state or your city sometimes, just kind of getting the notifications that they'll send out right when a disaster happens. Number 2 will basically be making yourself, you and your family members or your household making a plan. So some of the plan or some of the information will basically be just kind of like a contact list. So the contact list should kind of like have the people that you live, your parents, your household, your siblings. And then another one is basically a person that does not live within your household, someone that basically lives like out of town. So that'll probably be like your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents maybe. And then for the second part of make a plan is basically practice evacuation plans. So like, let's say like you do have to evacuate your house in an emergency. Make sure that you know which are the most accessible spots that you can leave. Some of them being like the windows, if you are on the ground floor, a front door or back door, and just kind of just practicing like how to evacuate your house in case there's like a door that is kind of like obstructed by something that fell. Another one is just making sure that you have a specific spot to go to. One of them that I kind of recommend after learning through a disaster workshop that Curtis hosted was kind of go to like another location that's kind of like highly populated, because that's basically where emergency services would go to. So some of them being like a school, in case like there is a school within your neighborhood, another one being a hospital, a factory, or like a church basically. Because in an emergency, those will be like the most primary locations because those are the most heavily populated. And then basically just listen to local authorities, because if you are in a panic, it'll be harder for local authorities, such as like the ambulance, the firefighters, or like the police officers, to kind of get to people that really need the emergency services. Number 3 is basically packing a go bag. So that's basically just having that everyone in your household, if you're like a household of 5, making sure that each person has a go bag. So that go bag would consist of family pictures, identification, your medical, your disaster ready guide, and basically a map, kind of this labeling where you should meet up and like what you should do at that meetup location.
And then so also think when making or creating plan step 3, think about what you need. Think about your family household size, maybe who is abled, or who is body abled, who isn't body abled. Having those important conversations with your loved ones. Right now, you're here as youth, and so right now, you guys have this resource where you can go and talk to your parents. Maybe y'all have younger siblings. You can also communicate this important information and resources. So think right now about your situation, your family. Do you, in your family, have someone who have special medication requirements? If so, what are those medications? Take a moment and reflect that. Those type of medications are very important and should be in your step 3, pack your go bag. Other things to reflect on: do y'all have pets? If so, do you guys need a couple of unperishable food for them? That's another thing to pack in your go bag. And lastly, what is your area more prone to? Is it prone to wildfires, or is it prone to floods or earthquakes? Can someone share a little bit about your area of residence? Is anyone more prone to wildfire? Or actually, raise your hand if your area is more prone to wildfires here in California. Okay. And if so, in your household, if your location is prone more to wildfire, what should you have? For those who raise their hands. Not all at once. Okay, not to put you on the spot, but something you can have for wildfires are fire extinguishers. Maybe having a little one might be useful. Who raise your hand if your area is more prone to floods? Anyone here in California more prone to floods? What would your house have if you usually have floods in there? Yes, correct. And then raise your hand if your location is more prone to earthquakes. I should be seeing a lot of hands up right now. Yes, and then something you all got as a small gift is, click on it, a whistle. And that's very important to have in case a big earthquake does occur and you might be misplaced somewhere, no one can find you, it's important to have a whistle somewhere hidden in your house or with you or anywhere you go, just in case an earthquake, because earthquakes happens at random times sometimes, and it's important to be prepared. So y'all did receive a whistle. Please keep them in your keychains wherever you go. And yeah, we'll go ahead.
Okay, so number 4 is basically just making sure that you prepare a stay at home box, basically. So at least for 2 to 3 weeks, because in case like a major earthquake does happen, the roads, the highways will basically kind of like maybe they'll probably crack or like kind of get displaced. Some of the power lines will also probably be out. So just making sure that you are kind of like prepared. So make sure that you have 2 to 3 weeks of food and water. Some of those food and water being kind of like like non-perishable. So some items that you don't have to really cook. Because like let's say you do have a big earthquake, maybe the gas line will probably be broken, or you have to turn off the gas line in case there's a leak in your neighborhood. So just making sure that you have food that you can't really cook. Also food that doesn't really rely on like being refrigerated, because your power may go out. So making sure that your food is kind of just like canned and perishable. Some of them also being like trash cans. If you are in an emergency, you probably won't have like you'll probably have just whatever water you have that's kind of like in your residence at that time. But once you kind of like in a way kind of use up that water, you won't have really water. So you just kind of make sure that you have trash bags and a bucket just for like sanitary needs. Some of those also kind of being just like wipes in case you do like run out of items. And then number 5 is basically just kind of like using the disaster guide and the information that you learned today to kind of like educate your elders, your family members, your cousins, your friends, and your neighbors to kind of have them prepared and be ready for a disaster, because a disaster can happen at any time and at any moment.
Oh yes, and then if y'all can take your phones out and scan the QR code, we do want to encourage everyone here to sign up for the Clean Earth Pledge. And then we'll give you like a minute for that. Okay, so lastly, we do want to emphasize that it does start right here with you taking in all of this information. I know it was a lot. We did just go through a brief summary of this guidebook, so we do encourage everyone here to take some time maybe tonight to go over this book in depth, read more about it, and spark that conversation once you go back home. Maybe some of y'all will move to another location because of higher education and stuff like that. So please take time to consider this. Spark the conversation with your family, with your younger siblings, with your older siblings, with your grandparents, just so y'all can have just something to remind yourself in case something does happen it doesn't matter if it's a disaster or an emergency or a hard situation. But we'll go ahead and close with questions. Does anyone have any questions? If not, who is a brave soul here to share something that they learned new? Something they didn't know before, but they just learned in this workshop. We just need one brave soul. Yes. Yeah.
Something I learned new in this workshop today is that I should like make a plan, because I just assumed that like I could just people would just reach out, or like I'll just know their information. But if I really think about it, I don't know my sister's phone number and stuff, and I won't be able to remember it in like a situation that's like a disaster.
Thank you for sharing. And yes, you bring a great point. Even I don't know my emergency contacts information. So when you do step 2 and write down your 3 top emergency contact list and then 1 outside region, take a moment, try to memorize it, try to remember. And then when you guys fill out this guidebook, also try to save it somewhere where you know you can easily access it in case you have to evacuate or in case you guys have to stay in place. Does anybody else want to share something they learned today? Or any questions before we move on? If y'all want more guidebooks, we have additional right here. So feel free to grab more for your loved ones. And then, okay, now again, take a moment, pull out your phones, and then we'll do another QR code. So right now we're gonna sign up for Cal OES local alerts. So everybody please take out your phones, scan the QR code. It'll take you guys to the website. And then once you guys are there, you'll most likely see 4 different buttons on top of the website. One of them says sign up for alerts. And if y'all don't have your phones with you, take out your laptops, and then the website should be listoscalifornia.org. It should be on your first page. So for the folks that don't have a phone, please take out your laptops and go to the website. You can find the website on page 4 of your guidebook. And then once you do the sign up button, you'll just fill out your personal information. But we are done with this presentation. Thank you so much for having us here, and we'll pass it on to Jason.
All right, thank you again so much, Sandra and Stephen. We learned so much about disaster readiness, and you all got some handy guides and some gifts on your table. If your table is missing a whistle or a small gift, don't worry, we'll get those to you later in the retreat. But we're now going to move on to your activity for this class in Listos, is to talk about engagement, right? So Listos has so many helpful information about disaster readiness, and like some of us shared, right, we don't always think about day to day how we can be ready for disaster, who our disaster emergency contacts are. So your goal for today is you're gonna film a short video that's gonna help promote Listos disaster readiness. So short video, you might be more familiar with the word TikTok, Instagram Reels, things like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, whoa, today's gonna be my first time making my first TikTok ever. Don't worry, we are gonna show some examples, but really your goal is to make a very short 1-minute TikTok video to talk about disaster readiness. Think about ways you can engage your audience. Are you gonna go for comedy? Are you gonna do something funny? For example, so that one was probably maybe a TikTok format you guys all have seen before, where it's based on puns, right? So that one was puns about hair salon. You have the Dyson Airwrap, right? It's supposed to wrap your hair, but it's like wrapping in the mic and things like that. So you can think of something like that with your disaster readiness. Or sometimes all you need is a really good hook. Let's watch this one.
Is this the place we used to love? Is this the place that I've been dreaming of? Oh, simple thing, where have you gone? I'm getting old and I need something to rely on. So tell me when you're gonna let me in. I'm getting tired and I need somewhere to begin. And somewhere only we know. This could be the end of everything, so why don't we go somewhere only we know?
It's about going to eat ramen, and then he wakes up in the water. So that can be also an idea for your Listos short video. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to assign all of you. There's 10 groups and 8 disasters. So 2 groups are going to have the same disaster, but we're going to randomly sort you into which disaster you're going to get. I hear some groans. You guys probably seen this before. Yes. I am a high school teacher, by the way. Let's go to Alvina. How many times should I roll the dice? 4 times. All right, I'm going to roll it 4 times, and I'm going to scroll in real quick, but the number that you get is going to be the number of your disaster. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, you can have someone in your team take a picture real quick, but just remember what number you've got, and that number is going to match up with the disaster. All right, everyone got it? We're going to go super quick so you guys have time to fill. So if you got number 1, you are looking at extreme heat. If you got number 2, you are looking at wildfires and so on. So before you guys start, here are your tools that you'll need. You'll need maybe your laptop to look at some ideas and to research your disaster on the Listos website. So if you go to Listos and type in your disaster, you can find more information about that. Use your mobile phone. I hope most of you have TikTok, Instagram, whatever, because those apps already have video editing tools for you to make your own short video. You don't have to upload your video to social media because you're going to upload your video to our team drive, which will be presented to you by a group leader. Your video has to be 1 minute max, and remember, we're at a TC event, so please make it TC appropriate. Maybe try even including some TC flair, because your video might have an opportunity to be showcased through Listos. Do we have any questions? All right, so you guys can use a lot of space. We have the Gantan, we have the stage, we have the lobby, we have the grass outside, we have the parking lot. Stand up, think quick, and make your short video. We'll come back at 11:33, so you have 20 minutes.